Welcome. How is everybody doing? This is Mongo Slade. I was very derelict in my duties today. I literally did not put together a show. Only thing I've got is a collection of articles that Trinity did. She ever since it was announced that she was going to impact this sort of thing was kind of spiraling. Impact started to really promote that she was going to be out there with a live microphone. It's not a live microphone if the show was taped last week. She also did a Fox News interview, a Busted Open Radio interview, and a Wrestling Observer newsletter interview. She really mastered the art of saying a lot without saying anything at all. There wasn't much there to talk about. So I figure maybe as far as what Impact says, it's going to be about 8:30 before she actually shows up on the screen. They may actually try to do some kind of live response because it might be that funny. It might be that interesting. It also might make for content, but we'll see. I'm pretty sure somebody is watching Impact somewhere around here. And they will be the ones who will probably let me know when she shows up on the screen. Um, I'm him 24/7. What up? How you doing? Also, there was a bit of a controversy about whether Jimmy, well, I'm guessing that's the Uso, that's her husband, should actually make some kind of public statement or not. Some people seem to think that he should. Other people think that it's kind of stupid for him to do so. But it was a minor thing on the interwebs for a short time. Um, so we gonna talk about that a little bit too, but probably a little bit later in terms of whether he should have made a public statement or not, because it seems to me like he handled it pretty well, you know. But that's just me. So the first stop that she did on her media tour after she was announced was Fox News. Now, I don't want to be sitting here reading articles. I mean, I could, and that would probably eat up a lot of time, but it will be, I don't know, I think that would be kind of boring for y'all. But ultimately, I'm going to go through the articles and I'm going to get basically the general idea. So, Fox 5 Chicago, April 29th, 2023. Trinity Fatu, formerly WWE's Naomi, talks making surprise return with Impact Wrestling in Chicago. All right, so there's a lot of background information on her and the walkout and everything. Nothing that you don't already know. And then she says, "quote Being back in wrestling and being with my pack in a place where I feel so welcome, and just for the opportunity and just receiving all the love, it was very, very overwhelming. I really felt in my heart like I really did. I couldn't even handle the emotion. I've been wrestling for 14 years, and then one day everything just changed, and I felt like my whole world turned upside down." And things were shuffled around. It took a little time to just process everything and really sort out what I want to do, where I want to be. And she says, I feel like it was leaving WWE was a blessing in disguise. I feel that it allowed me to grow and become better in every way, in every respect. Show me how strong I really am. And now I've got this new journey ahead of me, these new goals, and I'm excited and I'm ready to step into this new chapter. So a whole bunch of nothing. She mastered the art of. They put out an interview. They were the first ones to get it out. And the only thing is, well, the separation showed me how strong I am, and now I've got new goals. I'm like, oh, okay, okay. Thanks for coming, Fox. you added nothing to the conversation. The WWE shareholder lawsuit that was dropped against Vince. Well, considering there's 100 lawsuits that have been filed, I don't even know which one it was. If we're going to be lying, if we're going to be honest, I'm not even sure which one of these lawsuits it was. But I did read an article on it, which says that it was it was dropped because the complaint had become moot when Vince paid the money back. Which, okay, that was weird. If we being honest, that was very weird. But we're gonna, matter of fact, we're gonna talk about this Triple H. We're focused on long-term character development stuff too. So I really want to talk about that. So we're gonna talk about that too. So let's just do the sort of around the horn in terms of Trinity doing the media, and then we'll get into the Triple H thing, which I think is actually probably more my style. Um, yo, what's up, Sandman? Yo, that Sid video was something else, dog. I was I knew it wasn't real, but they didn't know it, so that's what made it work. Ricky, WG Field, AJ3, Ninja, what's up? Stone Mexican guy, how y'all guys doing? I'm glad everybody's here. All right. Next, she went to Busted Open Radio. I wish I could play some audio, but I don't have audio for Busted Open Radio. I'm not about to. I didn't listen to the interview because I didn't care that much. So she's gonna, and this one actually adds a little something, a little something. She says, "I chose and want to be at Impact." I chose and want to be at Impact. Nobody ever said that. Ever. After 2016, I don't think anybody ever said I chose and wanted to be at Impact. Most people just was like, what else could I do? I mean, you can't say what else can I do. You can't just say that. But she continues, the door are open for me everywhere, literally everywhere, but I truly feel that Impact is the best choice for me at this point in my life right now with what I want to do. And to just be able to work with the talent there. I feel that is where I'll be happiest and most utilized and really get to grow in the ways that I feel that I need to right now on this wrestling journey. This is saying nothing. This is saying nothing right now. I'm happiest and be best utilized. I don't know about that. We'll see. I guess we'll see. Had all of this stuff never happened, there is no way I would have taken that leap. That's true. The situation kind of forced me to figure it out. That's what I meant when I say everything was a blessing in disguise. I was going through a lot and felt very stagnant, and I wasn't happy. That's a good point. She was stagnant. She was stagnant as hell, to be quite honest. She wasn't going anywhere. So okay, she made a good point. That's really a good point. And she says, ultimately, I left that day because of the way I was talked to and handled. I'm interested. I can see them being talked down to, maybe, but what does she mean by handled? Like, what was the? Is she talking about the situation was handled? Certainly, she doesn't mean she was grabbed physically and launched from the office. Like, I doubt anything like that. So, I'm guessing she means like they probably went to. I'm guessing it was John Laurinaitis with this problem, and the way he approached the situation was not up to par, and thus they felt disrespected, which I can see that. That happens in pretty much every business. But when you are somebody with 14 years in the company, you would think that you had garnered some measure of respect. That makes sense. I can see that in my head. I can visualize being frustrated that you've been there for a decade and a half almost, and these guys just don't care about you one way or the other, or something like that. I can definitely see that. Everything kind of broke me that day. It had nothing to do with anybody else, anything else, or anybody else. Now that's bullshit. It had nothing to do with anything else or anybody else. Oh, just how I was talked to and handled. That was it. And that broke me. It had nothing to do with somebody else who walked out that same day and also didn't come back. Nothing to do. Nothing to do. Nothing at all to do with that other person who she won't even name, by the way. Okay. She said, that was just it. I had to. To go through the backlash and negativity and the lies and the rumors and also feel lost, it really broke me. It was probably the lowest I've ever felt in my life. Going through that, it made me reset and face it head on and figure out how to learn from this experience, grow from it, and find myself again in all of it. I'm extremely happy now, really thankful for this opportunity to show that you haven't seen me at my best yet. Now, that last line is of course yet to be seen. We will see if she's at her best doing this thing in Impact or not. But I always like my Spurs got to jingling and jangling when she said that oh, it had nothing to do with anybody else. Like, oh really? It really didn't, huh? Is that true? Is that true, Mama? It really didn't have anything to do with anybody else. Is that your final word? Is that your final word? Because I'm almost certain these things almost always have something to do with other people, especially when you didn't walk out by yourself. You know, if she'd walked out by herself, I would buy that, but she didn't. So I'm kind of in that squishy space where I'm kind of like, I don't know if I believe it. I don't know if I believe it. I'm also going to queue up. Yeah, I think it's Big Cap. I think it's baseball cap, cowboy hat cap, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I think it's cap for sure. Um, they say she's going to make her first address on Impact at 8:30. It's almost 8:30 now. So maybe I'll actually like go to Impact and play the audio and we could see where we go from there. That ought to be interesting. So I should have put like live response, but I guess it's one of those things where you gotta listen to the live stream. You never know what you're going to get. She did do an interview for Wrestling Observer newsletter because she talked to Denise Salcido, and Denise Salcido. They always give her like cute little jobs or whatever. She never really gets her hands dirty doing anything in wrestling. Um, so she says, quote, and by she I mean Trinity. WWE will always be my first home. My family is still there. My friends are still there. There are still my girls over there in the locker room. But I'm really looking forward to this space in this chapter and this experience with Impact. I already feel so welcomed and at home. That's been really cool. I just got so much love and support there. I know I'm going to be okay. Later, she says, I think I'm going to allow me to become better, even better at what I do at wrestling and just connections already that I've made with people. There's so much support that I have that I know. Oh my God, these things are just so poorly written. This is going to be the good experience, not just for me, but I think for women in wrestling, period. Then she talked about being gone from wrestling, and it says it was really tough. Like my whole world, everything is kind of felt like I was being cut off. That was tough. And she said she had time to reflect and says, I asked myself, what do I want in this next season of my life? What have I been missing? What has led me or what made me feel this way? There's a lot of introspection. It was, again, little to nothing going on here. But she says, if you're not happy having doing all these things, then that doesn't work for me. So just finding balance in life and really tapping into myself and what Trinity needs, what we want in this next phase. And it took me a little time to figure it out if I still wanted to wrestle because the whole situation was just a lot. Interesting. She said, but once I had the time away and realized how much I missed it, how much the fans that were still supporting me, that was it. It was easy to make the decision to give it one more go. She says she's wrestling to have fun now. She says, I think there's always a pressure when you're in the ring wrestling. You take a risk every time you step in the ring. You just never know what can go wrong or if something's going to go wrong with what we do. And just the pressure of being in a new company, in a new place, and being able to pretty much just start all over and do well here and just grow here and just showcase more of me. And she says the pressure in itself, but I just want to make sure I have nonstop fun this time. I don't feel like I have to like prove anything because I've already had a great career in WWE. I really have. And I'm thankful for all of that and what I have done there and what I have been able to allow me to have there. I just really want to continue to grow and have fun. There's not anything I got to prove and show. I don't feel that way. That's a mistake. That's a mistake. She definitely got something to prove, dog. You walked out because you felt like they didn't value you. So yeah, you definitely got something to prove. Um, I don't know if saying I don't got nothing to prove is good. You know, especially when you only worked in one place as a wrestler. I don't know, man. It just feels like you still got something to prove. She says, well, she did say this. I just want to prove myself that I can still go and I can continue on with this wrestling career because I love it. All right. So she starts talking about intergender wrestling. She says, I would love to have some intergender matches. I know they have those matches. I'm excited for all of those possibilities. And with her friendship with Mercedes, she says, there's something that she and I both really bond over. It's just our dreams. We kind of had that done and talked about doing just all these things. Like she wanted to have this dream of Japan, and I had this dream of doing Broadway. But now we're like, okay, if we're going to do it, now is the time to do it. And just being there to support each other in that way, it's been like the greatest gift to me, being able to go through it with my sister and also just sit back watching her accomplish this dream, going all the way to Japan and being a success. It inspired me and motivated me. She says everyone is just watching us in real time live out these dreams and try different things and explore different things. We pretty much came into this wrestling business as kids almost. I was 21. I'm older now. So the things you want and the things that you value change as you evolve through life. Well, that's a really good point. She says I think that's where we are right now. And yeah, the last year has been life changing. I think it's been good. And in the end, it was going to make us stronger and better. She and I both love that. Again, it's just a lot of empty words, just some really empty phrases that's being said on these things. Um, it's it just feels emotionless. Like it feels like a little buzzy, like there's some buzzwords there, but it's a lot of feminine introspection kind of stuff going on. And look, I'm not too surprised by it, but there's a lot of I need a chance to grow and opportunities and dreams, and that's kind of like I don't know. And she said that she had a dream of doing Broadway. I'm like, did she do Broadway? Because I don't remember seeing her on Broadway. I mean, I guess she can still have that opportunity. I guess you can wrestle and do Broadway. I guess I guess nothing in wrestling prevents you from doing Broadway. But I don't know if this was supposed to. I don't know. I guess create buzz for Impact. I don't think she did a great job of it. I think she did okay, but I don't think she did a great job of like selling everybody to watch Impact this week. Um, but she says she's here to have fun and she's done everything, but she's ready to open up a new chapter. I'm like, okay. She left because she didn't like how she was talked to and how she was handled. Okay. Uh, uh, go for it, And like I said before, I really support it because she was in WWE and she had never worked anywhere else. And this is an opportunity for her to actually, go through and it's almost like she completed the missions and now, she completed the game. Now she's doing side quests. She's only 35 or something like that. So, you know, she got plenty of time to do that kind of stuff. I'm trying my best to not be negative about this thing. All right. Because again, there's dignity in all work. And just because Impact is not WWE or AEW doesn't mean it's a terrible place. But it's also a place where you got guys like Cody Deaner on the roster, for Christ's sake. I mean, you got a guy like just when Cody Deaner is like prominently shown on your show, I really question the integrity of that show. You know what I'm saying? And he's been there for such a long time too. So it's not like he just popped up last week and I'm ragging on him. Like he's been there forever. Yeah, I'm guessing she meant like Broadway, like acting plays or something like that. I don't know. I guess she was want to hang out with Omar Epps. I guess I don't know. Um, AJ3. It's sad you went from WrestleMania in front of hundred thousands of people to Impact Wrestling when there's barely 1,000 people. Sad, isn't it? Well, again, I think what she said at the end in her article or in her conversation with Denise Salcedo is a good point that she's older and she values different things now. And maybe, you know, she has done the WrestleManias and stuff like that. Maybe she just doesn't value it anymore. It's a similar situation to John Moxley, where, a lot of people, once they did it and they did it so many times, it's not quite the same. Now it's kind of like, yeah, I've done that. What else can I do? And I don't begrudge people for having that. Like, you only get one life. If you was unhappy in WWE or whatever, and you decided to go make a change, I'm cool with that. I like that idea, actually. I wish more people would take initiative and, not re-sign contracts or something like that and go play the market or whatever and come back. You know, there's nothing sadder really than wasted potential. You know, that's the saddest thing of all. I think, you know, it can't get any worse for Naomi, really. Like, how is it gonna get worse for her? That's my question. You know, it's not really gonna get any worse for her. You know, like, the worst thing that could happen is she get injured, like seriously injured. That could be like the worst thing that could possibly happen. But I don't think that's actually going to occur. I think that the women in Impact are pretty well trained. Most of them are very professional. So she should be okay. They're not going to kill her or anything like that. So she's going to get a chance to wrestle people she never wrestled before. And Masha Slamovich and Killer Kelly. And I don't know if did she ever have any matches with Mickey James? Kind of Mickey James will be back in a couple of months anyway. She'll be back pretty soon. I don't think she ever worked with Deanna Perrazzo. Jordan Grace is still there, even though she's a mutant. You know, but there's a lot of opportunities, and then also she might get a chance to wrestle men, which is something she's never done before. So it's a completely new avenue. You know, so I'm looking at it from both sides. Like, clearly she's an impact because she couldn't get in anywhere else. I mean, that's just honest. But at the same time, there are some positives to working in Impact too. And she doesn't, like I said, she doesn't need money. She worked in WWE for 14 years. Her husband still works there. She's not like, you know, crawling around on her belly looking for a job. That's not the case at all. AJ3, God, these women in wrestling, they just get so wet, blanket, emotionless when they do interviews about being released from WWE to the Indies. I would rather this than her try to be salacious and get headlines. Clearly, there was something that happened that maybe they can't talk about it. Like, I would think that they probably had to sign some kind of NDA in order to end this whole thing. And it's probably from both sides where they were kind of like, look, we're not going to talk about it. We won't talk about you guys. You guys won't talk about us, and we'll drop it. And that's probably how it happens. This kind of stuff happens all the time. What's the rundown for this live? Well, I hate to disappoint you because there isn't one. I literally was super sleepy and barely remembered the show was tonight. So I was like, oh God. So we're gonna do we'll talk about Trinity a little bit, and then I think we're gonna do Triple H, talking about character development because I have a bone to pick with Triple H. I really do, especially on the conversation of character development. Come on, get the fuck out of here. TN Pyro. These women always think that they're setting new boundaries. Uh, yes, but I think that it's one of those things that I think it helps them mentally to believe that. Because if you tell them, like, okay, people have already done this stuff, like, you're not really breaking any new ground in terms of I'm leaving WWE to go to Impact. People have done that before, but she's never done that before, so it's new to her at least. Stone Mexican guy. I mean, it was that, or I don't think she wants to deal with Britt Baker after the Thunder Rosa stuff. I would think after the Soraya stuff, I would think she would. Who the fuck wants to deal with Britt Baker anyway? She seemed like a really seemed like she just seems pretty bratty to me. You know, she comes across as real bratty to me. I don't know why. I don't know the girl personally, but she seems like she's used to people giving her way. That's what it seemed like to me. Tony Khan just hit a brick for not signing Trinity. Um, I think it was a strategic non-signing. That's what it said to me. It feels to me like it was a strategic non-signing. Like he's not. It seems to me that he doesn't really want her. But like I said before, I think I said this before. If I didn't, I'm gonna say it now. I would have thought he would have signed her just to thumb his nose at WWE. Like you can see that some of these people, he's signing them, but he doesn't really want them. Like Brian Cage, he has like a 5-year contract. You're like, what? The last 2 years of Brian Cage's contract, he was sitting on the couch. Like bruh, there's a Brian Cage size spot in his couch because he wasn't doing nothing. And now all of a sudden you're like, yes, I will absolutely re-sign you to another 5-year contract. And this dude is 39. I'm like, wait a minute. What you signing this dude for? I'm also where I wish Homeboy was here. We used to talk about money laundering. I'm beginning to think that's what it is. You're like, shit, you're just trying to wash some dirty money at this point. 5 years for Brian Cage and that dude is 40? You gotta be kidding me. Nah. And you weren't doing nothing for him for 2 years already anyway. So that really makes me question the validity of Tony Khan's signing decisions. I mean, he still has Lance Archer under contract. When's the last time you saw that fool? There's somebody on Twitter that has a gimmick, and their gimmick is, I think it's pretty much every couple of days they say tweet out a wrestler you forgot worked in AEW. And last time I had Nick Camarado. This time it's going to be Lance Archer. I saw Nick Camarado when somebody showed me clips of Ring of Honor. He was on there. And I was like, fuck, what is he doing? And he didn't win either, by the way, because it was like highlights of his match. And I was like, oh, hell no. What happened to the alien girl? Well, she tore her I think she tore her ACL or something. She tore up something in her legs. She got really bold knees. And I think that's what they waiting on in terms of Jade Cargill. At least that's what I heard from people who are favorable to Tony Khan. That the whole Jade Cargill thing is just a big build up for Chris Statlander. That's what I heard. So we'll see. DMAC, any longer form thoughts on wrestling media personalities working for wrestling companies? In general, I'm gonna get money, but I understand the concerns people have. The situation that it really only struck me at the moment because I was looking at it and I was like, who the fuck is this guy? I know I've seen him before. And then I was like, didn't that dude work for Fightful? And then I was kind of like, wow. It just really struck me as being strange, you know? And it struck me as strange. Like I didn't really, I'm glad you asked that question because I didn't really formulate it the way I wanted to during the AEW review because had so much stuff to get to. But I'm looking at it from the perspective now, like after that Tony Khan spurred out on Mike Coppinger earlier that day, thinking that he had some kind of connection to Tony Khan, to Nick Khan. You know, like he was really just spurring out on this ESPN boxing reporter saying like, yo, you and your agent Nick Khan, and Nick Khan is not this dude's agent. Like he's not. He's never been his agent as far as I know. And that accusation is that there are media personalities that are in bed with WWE. He did the same thing to Ariel Helwani, right? When Ariel Helwani popped up on SmackDown, he spurred out. And, and now that I know a little bit more about the situation, they're saying the guy was just a podcaster. He wasn't really a reporter. And I'm like, okay, but you still have these personalities that are just really highly favored for AEW. And you have to ask the question, WrestleNomics has an executive that works at AEW now. Fightful now has a guy that works at AEW. Come on, like, I mean, if people are going to, let's say, go after Sam Roberts, which is because Sam Roberts does work for WWE, okay. He still tries to have his own little show. Peter Rosenberg, the Cheap Heat show, um, even for a long time, I think that Bixen's band and all of his team of weirdos, it was going after Pat McAfee, you know? Um, and it seems to me that they don't exactly hide that shit, like, but I still question, like, it's one thing to, I understand he's in a different situation. Most of these guys are just commentators. Like Sam Roberts is just a commentator. He's just a fan that WWE hired. Same thing with Peter Rosenberg. They were going to have wrestling podcasts whether WWE hired them or not. And you could say the same thing about the guy's name is Will. Yeah. You could probably say the same thing about him. He probably would have a podcast whether AEW hired him or not. That being said, though, it says a lot that if they start hiring podcasters, that the first podcasters they look for are dudes who are connected to the wrestling media. Like that's, I'm just kind of a big shrug on that. The TOD, he says that he heard that Will Washington is Swerve Scott's cousin. I heard the same thing. I heard that they were related somehow. If that's the case, then that nepotism worked out for him. I'm not against nepotism. I'm not really. I'm not. Only that I really question whether the guy was hired for something he could actually do. Like, is that something that's in his like resume? Like, I ain't seen his resume, so I don't know like what he can and can't do. And I didn't listen to his podcast either, so I don't know like what his credentials are. But then I looked at what he was supposed to be doing for the show, and it's like one of the things is like storyline continuity. And I'm like, storyline continuity. Like, it's one thing if he's going to be like over their social media, which I heard is one of his jobs too. Is he going to be over social media? And I was like, okay, he seemed to be okay on social media. He didn't jump out at me as somebody who was like toxic or anything like that on Twitter or anything. So I was like, he was just kind of like a guy. I didn't really know anything about him. I know more about him now than I did before. So it's hard for me to find like an attack on him because I'm like, why would I? For starters, why would I attack him? I would attack Tony mostly. Like the guy is offered a job, or maybe he interviewed for. I'm assuming he interviewed for the job. Maybe he put in a resume, or maybe he got a phone call, but he didn't do anything that none of us wouldn't do. I got a podcast, or whatever. If I got an opportunity to go work for Impact or AEW or whatever, and I think I can help, I'm like, yeah, absolutely, hell yeah, And I think it was somewhat honorable that he walked away from the podcast in order to do it. That was good. So I really don't have no problem with him. Like, he is not the concern. My concern is that Tony Khan he's getting a lot of favorable coverage, and these media types, their friends are getting jobs there, so they're really going to be they're going to be more favorable. Like, to me, it's just that part really just jumps out at me. It's kind of like, are you really going to dog the place that your homeboy works at? Like, really? Like, you work with this. I heard you did the podcast for like several years too. So it's like, okay, it's not like they had a falling out and then he went and did this. It's like, no, they left on good terms. They're probably still homeboys. They tweeting them, they texting them. He probably got his phone number. Like, come on, man. You really gonna tell the truth and talk about how shitty AEW is when your homeboy works there? That's my concern. Him getting a job is no big deal. Congratulations to him. The issue is going to be, how is that going to trickle down to the actual commentary that these people are doing, or the stories that they're choosing to follow. Didn't they attack some guy over the weekend? I don't know. I don't know that much about this guy, but they ripped apart some guy, like all the piranha. They just tore chunks out of this kid over the weekend. I don't know what he did, But apparently he didn't want to talk about the WWE lawsuit. He made some jokes or something like that that they didn't like, and they tore him apart over the weekend. And then, you know, he was just a WWE biased kid, and that was it. And I was just kind of like, I don't know, man. I don't know about that. Like I don't care enough about that. But whenever people talk to me about like WrestleNomics and stuff like that, I always remember they got a guy who helped launch that site. He works in AEW right now. That's going to forever taint anything that they say because he worked there for a long time. You know, so it's not that they had a terrible breakup and now somebody's gone. No, they're still friends. They still talk. You know, this you're not. I wouldn't dog anywhere my homeboy works at. I'm not. I just wouldn't do it. So I wouldn't put it them above it. You know. So and I feel that way not just with the podcasters and stuff. I always feel that way when like the media is taking pictures with wrestlers and shit. You know, like they and I remember reading an article. I forget who wrote it. I really wish I did. Where they talked about the difference between sports reporters and wrestling reporters, and how it's only been recently that sports reporters have been like openly fans of a team. Like you see Stephen A. Smith. He's really like a big fan of the Cowboys, I think, and he kind of roots for them on TV and stuff like that. And that's kind of a new concept. And um, like some older wrestling media types was like surprised that older sports media types, I mean, were surprised to see wrestling fans like openly boo, yay, cheering for, having favorites, taking pictures with these guys, and all this kind of stuff, hanging out with them, and because that's typically not what they do. Now I'm pretty sure it is what they do now, but back then this wasn't really what they did, and so they was kind of flummoxed by how could wrestling fans feel so strongly about the product that they actually like get involved, like they participate in the show. And because the other sports reporters felt like they were reporting on the show, they had to being at the game was work. It wasn't that something they did for their own entertainment. And even though you're not going to follow the NFL unless you actually like it, right? You're not going to follow the NBA unless you actually like it. So it's all bullshit. They just try to put themselves above wrestling reporters. But I got the understanding. Like I got what they were trying to say in terms of wrestling media is far more entrenched in fandom. Like they're real fans of the product, far more than the NFL reporters are, because they still have to maintain that professional boundary. Where wrestling media don't have a professional boundary, and I understood that. And that's really where you get like the problems, because I say like wrestling media doesn't really have too many boundaries already. So what the guy did wasn't really that big of a deal to me, So like, what are you expecting? Like, what are you expecting really? But you don't typically see it in other sports, do you? Like, when was the last time you saw like a reporter get hired by the team as a, I'm pretty sure it might happen. Maybe local reporters. I think that there's probably the guy who did like the local news. He probably went to work for the Pistons somewhere in an office somewhere. But it wasn't like it is now. Like some guy jumps from ESPN to working in the front office of some football team because he was talked about it so good on the show on that show. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking at it from different perspectives, but I don't have nothing against him. I'm just looking at it in terms of, can you really trust what's coming out of these places now? These dudes are not going to criticize a friend and rip him apart or anything like that, say he's doing a bad job or anything. Like, why would they? How could you expect them to do that? Why would you ask them to do that? So it's going to be different. It's a completely different ball game. DMAC, when I consume wrestling media content, I do consider their biases. I prefer the folks that are objective or the ones who admit their biases and try to disclose them. I mean, you also said sports media talk personalities put their biases out there, like Skip with the Cowboys, Brady, and Oklahoma football. Yeah, I think it's easier to trust people if they just tell you, "I don't like this dude, I don't like this thing," and then they go into it, you know. Um, and like I say, man, I really sports really sports really kind of fucked me up when I watched grown men grovel at LeBron James. That's when I kind of like, oh no, I can't respect reporters. Like, no, thank you, dog. They suck. It was like he was 17, and it was like King James. He's on the cover of magazines and everything. I'm like, wait a minute, like he ain't played not 1 second of like real ball. Like he ain't done shit yet, you know. And I just watched the media put him on a pedestal and then give him stilts while he's already on the pedestal. And then they gave him kickstands to make sure he don't fall over. And I was like, you know what, man? Who cares, bro? Like like it, it's up to you if you value like the opinion of Stephen A. Smith and all that kind of stuff. Just watch the games, dog. If you value like Skip Bayless and all of them, man, that's your fault. I wouldn't. But I actually do have more respect for people who just admit um, who they are. You know what I'm saying? Just admit who you are, and we can call it a day. It's not that big of a deal as far as I'm concerned. You know, if I already know, like with Teddy Atlas, like I love Teddy Atlas, the boxing trainer. He always puts it out there every time he does an interview. He helped train Mike Tyson, but he hates Mike Tyson, and he say it every time. He don't like him. So when he starts going into these long diatribes about how Mike Tyson is a bully and a coward and all that kind of stuff, you have to delete all that shit. So you have to be like, all right, he's getting into his fuck Mike Tyson stance. So we're gonna put that to the side and we're gonna listen to the rest of the stuff he's got to say about boxing. You know, because once he started saying like, "Oh, Mike can't fight" and all this kind of shit, you're like, "Oh, come on, now you're just being ridiculous," you know. But as long as you put it out there, can't nobody you can't be mad because you're not surprised. You know, you're surprised if they try to hide the biases. That's when you should get mad. But and that's really what my whole thing is like. If Fightful or whatever was to say, we our friend works at this place that's going to color our opinions or whatever the case may be. We're not going to criticize his work. We're not even going to comment on his work or whatever like that. I don't like it, but I'm not mad because I know how the world works, man. You know, you don't criticize your friends, you don't criticize your funding, so you're really just gonna kick yourself in the nuts at that point. So no, I'm not surprised at all. But I really would question if when you listen to those shows, are they being extra generous because their friend works there? That's something I would look into. Um, is that what his name was Dangor? I didn't know what the guy's name was. All I know is it kept coming into my feed, and I was like, I don't know who he is. He's not important enough for me to follow the crumbs. If it was Bixenspan or Alvarez or somebody with a name, I probably would have followed it. But because I don't know who he is, I was like, you know what? It's probably like Brad Shepard or something like that. I moved on, and now I'm figuring out it's not. So I'm like, I don't know, whatever. I don't care. They did. They're looking for reasons to cancel people anyway. So you give them one, that's on you, bro. I heard he was a kid too. Like he's like real young, but I don't know. He sounded like he sounded like he opened up the door for it. You heard that he was going to be on creative. I heard that too. I heard that he was going to be working in on storyline continuity. I was just looking at that like I said AEW needed an editor. I really did. I said it, so I'm like, if he's going to be the guy, great. And if he's, I hope he does a good job. If not, just fleece Tony Khan for whatever he's paying you, and you know, maybe hit that lateral move. If it don't work out, you got it on your resume. Impact's there. You know, don't JD and Solomon to work for House of Glory every once in a while? You can jump over there or whatever. It's that's like it's fine with me. I don't mind podcasters doing stuff. You know, everybody's living the dream, man. Everybody wants to, and that's the thing about wrestling media, is that most all of them would get involved if you give them the opportunity to. You know, like when Sean Ross Sapp ran to the ring and he got in the ring and he did that wrestling thing at whatever show he did it at, I wasn't mad at that. I was like, clearly I would question his reporting when those people are involved, but for the most part, I'm not upset about that. You know, I don't expect Stephen A. Smith to put on a Cowboys jersey and jump on the field though, because it's a different thing. It's a different thing. And it took me to really kind of get over the Alvarez thing, because I was really mad for a while that Alvarez was a wrestler. Because that really made me salty, because I was like, what the fuck? Because he's not going to criticize the people that actually work with him. But then I thought about it, and I was like, I don't value Alvarez's opinion anyway, so why would I be upset about it? I don't care. Ultimately, I was just kind of like, but that was back when I was a little bit more prickly than I am now. I'm more of a live and let live kind of guy now. Back then, I was a little bit more confrontational. I was a little bit more confrontational back in those days. I was pretty upset. Anybody who came to me with an Alvarez opinion, I'm like, did he wrestle them? Because how the fuck he knows? Like when he went on that tirade about how he wouldn't work with Sheamus, I'm like, Sheamus wouldn't work with you, motherfucker. Like, who the fuck are you? Are you really? I would never work with Sheamus. I'm like, huh? As if Sheamus will waste his time wrestling you. Where's the money in that? You gotta be kidding me. Ike the Don, with all the talk about her, do you think Tessa Blanchard can make a comeback? Tessa Blanchard is so. Somebody asked a question. It was on. I'm going to answer your question. I'm going to talk about this too because I'm going to pull it together. I saw somebody ask a question. Who dropped the bag more, Tessa Blanchard or Velveteen Dream? So my answer was Velveteen Dream because he was already in the pipeline. Like there was no guarantee that Tessa Blanchard was even going to, get there. But Velveteen Dream seemed like the guy who was right there. Like just a push of two buttons, and he was like ready-made, main roster, upper mid-card guy. Tessa Blanchard, I think everybody was putting her on the same class as Charlotte, but she wasn't in the pipeline yet. In terms of what's going on with Tessa, you're talking about somebody who has such a terrible reputation. And in today's wrestling media, I don't think it'll work. Even if she was to apologize, well, for starters, she said all the stuff wasn't true. Okay, so that's the first thing. She said a lot of the racism stuff and all that stuff wasn't true, which, is what it is. Now, understand, that's enough right there. Was a bunch of people came out and called her a racist, which is what happened to Jessica Havoc. Why she's an Impact, because a bunch of people came out and said she was a racist, and she had posted some Nazi stuff or whatever on Twitter. It was some dumb shit. It wasn't much, but they heard she had got a tryout, and I think they was going to offer her a contract. And then all that stuff came out that Jessica Havoc was a racist and all that kind of shit. So it killed her. It was over. The difference being, Tessa Blanchard burned her bridges at Impact. They made her the world champion, and then she basically said, "Fuck y'all, I'm not coming back. Not going to defend the title." So they had to strip her. Then she got a second chance in the wrestling space via, WOW, Women of Wrestling. And during the first set of tapings, she got fired. And it's like, she's Teddy Hart status at this point, okay? Like, in terms of dropping the bag, Velveteen Dream can't get a job anywhere anymore. So it's over. So he's dead in the water. At least XPW would take Tessa Blanchard. I don't know what they pay, but it's hard for me to say that never, because when I watch AAA and I see that Alberto is there, and Alberto is El Patron, and he's on these shows, and Conan puts him in like a prominent spot, like Psycho Clown and shit, and I'm sitting here looking like the guy Uh, and I've heard Conan explain it. Basically, he doesn't have the reputation in Mexico that he got in the United States. Like, he's a Mexican wrestling promoter. This is a Mexican audience. They don't give a fuck. He didn't go to prison. So he's using them. And the Mexican audience wants to see him. And I can't argue with that, you know? But I know that Americans they can't get away with booking Alberto now. He's toxic. He's dead in the water. Do I think Tessa is that bad off? I think if she wanted to work in AAA, Conan would take her for sure. But if she wanted to work in AEW, I don't know. Attitude is it's a major thing. It's the same thing with Evilise. You know, I like Evilise, but attitude is very important. It's more than talent. You know, Tessa Blanchard had all the talent. She just had terrible attitude. The great crazy thing is she was so young, and she is so young. I think she's still under the age of 30. It'll take a miracle for her to be able to get over that hump. You know what I'm saying? It'll take a miracle because I'm pretty sure in this age of social media, if anybody signed her, any like WWE or AEW, they don't get deluged with why would you hire this racist? She was abusive. She's a bully. She's this. She's that. You don't want that. She ain't got no chance really. She ain't got no chance really. Not because the internet don't forget. So and they don't forgive either. If we're being honest, they move on for a short amount of time, but they don't forget. They don't forgive. If they had their way, Austin Theory wouldn't even be on TV. Okay, if they had I think somebody they tried to start up a thing on Grayson Waller after he got drafted. They kept calling him an abuser or some shit. I'm like, what did he do? you know, I was just like, I can't follow this stuff because out of nowhere is people always claiming that somebody's an abuser. It wasn't cage side seats. It was Deadspin that went after Darby Allin and Jeff Hardy after Darby said something on Dynamite. I should have read that article. Now I probably wouldn't even be able to find it. Where he said something on Dynamite, and the author of this article expected Darby Allin to like talk about being accused of abuse and stuff like I'm like on TV. Like, are you serious? Like, is that for real? Like, why would you do that? But the internet never forgets. You know, it's just in Tessa's case, all the people who are accusing her, they're so deeply embedded in both companies that she would never get a fair shot. You know, it's easier for Darby because he was already in the company. They felt like he could ride it out, and then they did most of the time. You know, they kind of got over it. Same thing with Austin Theory. They just figured, we'll ride it out. Riddle too, we'll ride it out. Because Riddle, there's a big sector of the internet that hates Riddle. They want him to fail so bad they don't know what to do with themselves. Um, but with some of these guys, you can ride it out. And I think if Tessa was professional and just didn't have a reputation for having a terrible attitude, she might have been able to ride it out. But when she got that next chance at WoW and she fucked that up too, I was like, come on, man, it's over. It's over. You know. Now nobody is willing, desperate enough to make that deal. You have to be desperate to bring in Tessa Blanchard now. And Tony Khan got too much money; he don't care. And Vince don't care. Triple H, they don't give a shit. Why should they care about Tully's daughter? You know, if I would think though that if somebody is willing to take the jump, it probably would be Triple H. You know, if that would be my guess, but I wouldn't suggest it. I wouldn't suggest it because I'm pretty sure quite a few of those girls, main roster girls too, were kind of like shitting on Tessa Blanchard. And then you don't want Tessa Blanchard in NXT either, because she's known to be very abusive to people who are not as experienced as she is. So you definitely don't want that either. She just doesn't fit, you know. Yeah, you should never burn bridges. Travis Tippins is absolutely correct. Sammy said he wanted to rape Sasha Banks. He did say that, and they took him off TV for a short amount of time because it was a big deal, and they put him back. But that wasn't even the thing. He wasn't accused of rape though. He just said something stupid. He said something dumb he shouldn't have said. People didn't forget that, but it wasn't that big of a deal. What Darby was accused of was like major shit though, and people kind of was like, "Oh, it's bullshit," and take Darby off TV for a little while, and then he came back, and everybody forgets. So that was great. I don't know what Grayson Waller supposedly did to anybody, so I honestly don't know, but I saw people trying to start it up that he was some kind of abuser or whatever the fuck. I don't know. Everybody's an abuser of some sort nowadays, bro. you know, everybody's an abuser of some sort. You can't get away from it. Um, and you can't beat those accusations either, like especially if they made anonymously. You definitely can't beat those accusations. Yeah, WoW was should have been a layup. You know, it's a women's centered promotion. You know, they got some goodwill. Now they did kind of squander a little bit of that goodwill when they hired Tessa because they brought in AJ first, if I remember correctly, and everybody was like, "Oh, wow, it's going to be a big deal." And then Tessa came in, and everybody was like, "Oh no." A certain element of the audience kind of started to boycott or started to complain. And then Tessa took herself out of the gene pool, like like she acted a fool during the first tapings and got took out. I'm like, wow, that was quick. That was quick. Uh, it didn't last long at all. I'm like, wow. So maybe Billy Corgan to take her. Now that I think about it, you know, my question is why Billy Corgan hasn't already made that jump. It's not like everybody hates Tyrus, right? Everybody hates Tyrus. Either you hate him because he's on Fox News, or you hate him because he's one of the shittiest wrestlers of all time. And even Billy Corgan ain't making the decision to call Tessa Blanchard yet. And to me, Camille's been the champion for 400 days. And it's like she's the champion because they have nobody else to put the belt on. And he hasn't called Tessa Blanchard yet. And if you were Billy Corgan, why wouldn't you call Tessa Blanchard? I probably would have called her. He don't care about being canceled. He should go ahead and make the decision. Go ahead and call Tessa. Why not? As long as she don't like lose a limb or something working on these mud shows for these fools that setting each other on fire and using chainsaws and shit. If she walks out of that XPW show with all 10 fingers and toes, maybe Billy Corgan should make a phone call. Again, what are they going to do? Recancel your show? They already don't like NWA. So the only thing you can do is put on the best matches possible. I call everybody that they already canceled. Austin Aries, not Joey Ryan. He's a weirdo. But like Austin Aries and Low Key, I call all the motherfuckers. Like, why not? It's not like if the audience you got now is not the people you can run off. Okay? Like, I don't even watch NWA every week. I watched it this week. I don't know if I watched it last week. But at this point, the people who are showing up to your shows and the people who are watching your shows every week are the people you can't run off. So you can bring in Austin Aries. You can bring in Tessa Blanchard. You already got EC3. You already got Tyrus. Are you really hurting? Unless a great deal of your talent don't want them there. I don't see why you wouldn't make that phone call. Why not? They're probably looking for work anyway. Why not? You know? I guarantee you, if he was to do that, some people are going to be. A lot of people are more virtuous on Twitter than they are in real life. So he'd probably tell you, "Oh, I'll never watch Austin Aries wrestle for the NWA World Title," and then you do it and he wins it or something like that. They might, tweet about how they'll never watch it, but they really will watch it. I'll never watch it with Tessa Blanchard on the show, and then they'll watch it because wrestling fans are wrestling fans. Something is interesting, even if they hate the people involved, they'll look. And if I was, you already got the reputation for being the guy who cares more about wrestling than politics and more about wrestling than the reputation of the wrestler or the politics of the wrestler or whatever, go for it. He did bring in I think he brought in Austin Aries last year or earlier this year, one of the two. I think. 'Cause I think he was in that was Austin Aries in that junior heavyweight tournament and then they took him out of it really early. Um if I remember correctly he was. But I would bring him in and he's canceled, but he's not a criminal. He's not that I can remember. He said some things that people don't like, but I don't view him as being like he's not a pedophile or anything like that. Like I'm not saying bring in Chase and Rance. I'm not saying like bring in some kind of pedo, but if they got canceled for saying things that they shouldn't say, and you're NWA, what you got to lose? You ain't got nothing to lose. People don't watch your fucking show anyway. So the thing is, you might as well make it as good as possible for the people who are watching it. It's not WWE, it's not AEW. AEW lives and dies by the good PR that they got. So they're not going to make that move. They're not going to call Austin Aries or Tessa Blanchard. Even if they wanted to, they're not going to. Because the last thing they want to do is piss off the SJW fan base. WWE don't give a fuck. But they do have corporate partners and all that kind of stuff. And they do have a lot of fans. And the last thing they want is some bullshit trending on Twitter. So they're probably not going to do it. If you're below Impact, like an NWA, like an MLW, there's no good reason why you wouldn't take that leap. People are not watching your show already anyway. So you might as well go ahead and make the move. Why not? You're not losing anything. You're not losing anything at this point. Let's see. Disco Inferno commented about guys not wanting to work with each other. Do you think that he has a point? Should you fire them or make them go to the parking lot and have a real fight? I think Disco Inferno is he's not making business decisions. He's making emotional decisions. He wants to have a power play with the elite. And that's what you're dealing with here. Being in a leadership position or in a position where you're over other people, a lot of your decisions are going to be about power dynamics, right? If you're Tony Khan, what Disco Inferno is saying is you need to act like the boss. That means you need to give an ultimatum. And these guys got to go. What he's not thinking about is what we've been talking about on this channel and what other people have been talking about. You named the company after the elite. All right. You can't fire those fucking guys. You can't. Okay? You put yourself over a barrel when you name the company All Elite Wrestling. You cannot fire those fucking guys. If you fire them, that's suicide for your company because the fan base that they have is the elite. Even if they're not the biggest draws, even if they don't get the best reactions, they are literally the heart and soul of that company. You cannot fire them. So getting into a public power play with these two, it's not going to work. Does that mean do the two-state option, like the Israel and Palestine option? I don't know. But Disco was like, oh, I just fired them. And I heard Cornette say fire them. I heard Dutch Mantel say fire them. And I'm like, these guys are not thinking big picture. They're not thinking beyond metaphysically. Let's put it like that. It's not just about money. It's also about public relations. If you fire the elite because they don't want to work with CM Punk, look at for starters, it's not just them. How many people in that company are in that company because of the elite? Just think about that. You could probably think of 5 or 6 of them right off the top of your head. And I'm just talking about wrestlers. Don't start asking questions about the people in the back who are just there because of the elite. So if you fire the elite, how many people are going to quit? And be like in solidarity maybe and just walk out. So you got to think about that. So you don't want to get into some kind of power game with them. You don't want to just give them an ultimatum. What you want to do is you want to be like, okay, CM Punk's coming back. That part you can't control. Y'all don't want to work together, fine. But he's coming back, and y'all gonna have to share a locker room. Maybe you don't talk to him, maybe he don't talk to you, but all y'all are gonna be here because he still is the boss, so he can make that personnel decision. But trying to force guys who want to work together, who don't want to work together, to work together, are you leaving money on the table? Yeah, but how much money really? you know, is it really worth the entire company? Think about that. Is the feud with the Elite versus CM Punk that big enough of a draw that you're willing to sacrifice all of the goodwill you put together in your company and quite possibly damage your merchandise sales, your attendance, and all that kind of stuff? No, it's not. It's not that big of a storyline. It ain't really. You know, you could have all of these guys in the back, and then over time, hey, are y'all guys, I still want to do that. I still want to do it. And then maybe it'll take a while before you get around to it. It's not like you have to do it immediately. You could wait a year, wait a couple of months, just get him back in, just get CM Punk back there, because it's a business decision with him being there. And you hopefully will be able to get them in the ring. But if you make a knee-jerk reaction like, I'm the boss here, you're fired. You're like, oh, okay, sweet. It's not even a matter of they're going to go to WWE. Who cares about that? It's only going to be a Tony Khan's no different than anybody else. He's awful. He's the worst kind of boss in the world. He's so terrible. AEW ain't shit without the Elite, and all that kind of stuff. And you don't want that. That's drama. That's drama that lingers too. So you don't want that. Think about how Vince handled the whole thing with Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. He forced them to work together, which probably wasn't smart on his behalf, because he ended up getting in that jam where Bret didn't want to put Shawn over and Shawn didn't want to put Bret over. And then he had to pull, Montreal. And then Bret ended up leaving anyway. So, he ended up getting rid of Bret anyway. So you were probably better off just keeping them apart. And instead of trying to force one segment to draw a lot of viewers, because you're putting both of them in one segment, you're probably better off making two segments draw pretty well by putting one of them in one segment and another in another segment. I can see WWE could have been perfectly fine if Vince was not obsessed with just making Shawn wrestle Bret all the fucking time. If he'd have said, these two guys don't want to work together or it doesn't make sense, I'm going to put them in separate storylines. No crossing over, nothing. Bret's over here doing this thing with this guy. Shawn's over here doing this thing with this guy. And we're going to keep these two guys apart until the heat dies down. But letting one of them go shouldn't even been an option. But then, of course, Bret went to WCW and that didn't work out. That didn't work out at all. But I'd have tried to keep Bret, personally. It's crazy. I know his contract I think they said he couldn't afford the contract. It's probably bullshit, but they were kind of broke in 96. But I definitely think that Bret could have made that money back, over time. Probably not in the moment, but probably over time. Especially since his story with Steve Austin wasn't even finished. Steve Austin never beat Bret Hart, So his story with Steve Austin wasn't even finished. So if you wanted to say, look, Bret won't lose to Shawn, he'll lose to Steve. So what we're going to do is instead of having Bret fight Shawn, we're going to have Bret and Steve 2 at WrestleMania. Who would have been complaining about that? Who would have been mad about that? Not me. I'd have been 13 at the time. I wouldn't have been mad about that. I wouldn't have been angry at all about that match. I wouldn't have been angry at all if you'd have put Bret Hart on his own track to do his own thing, and Shawn is on his own track doing his own thing. but they both on the same show. You don't give them like their own show to do their own thing, but they're just not crossing wires. You know, to me, that would have been perfectly fine. That's the way to handle it. You know, without saying that they have to work together, because you can't force people to do what they don't want to do, man. Because if you do force them to work together, what's going to happen? Somebody gonna get potatoed. Somebody gonna sandbag. Um, it's not gonna really. What if it fuck around and it don't draw? You went and ruined and pulled a power play on all these guys, and then it didn't draw. So you're better off just trying to make everybody the best way. The fans want everybody there too. So think about that. The fans want everybody under the same roof. They don't want the elite on the outside or CM Punk on the outside. They want everybody there. They don't care if CM Punk is wrestling Joey Janela or whatever the fuck. They just want him in the building. They don't give a fuck if the elite are wrestling, what was that guy's name? Um, the Big Uno or whatever the fuck. As long as they're on the show, as long as they're one of the focus of the show, they don't really care. You know, AEW has shown that they don't really care if these guys are not the focus. They just want them there. Look at how they treat with Malachi Black. You know, look at how they turned on him when they thought he wanted to leave. Look at how they turned on Andrade when they thought he wanted to leave. They don't necessarily want you to push them and make them top stars. They just want them there. Keith Lee, just want them there. Just want to be close to you. That's it. It's not necessarily that they want him to be world champion and he got a feud with this guy. No. As long as you're there, you're one of us. That's all they want. So don't think about playing power moves with these dudes because for starters, it's childish. Second, everybody loses when the family feuds. So you got to be smarter than that. The smart way to do it is maybe you tell CM Punk, I don't need you this week. The Elite going to do their thing this week. We're going to focus on their story this week. We'll see you next week. Matter of fact, you take this week off to build up your storyline. And then the next week you tell the Elite, we don't need you this week. We're not flying you guys in. We don't need you. Cut this promo, send it in. We'll put you on the next show. Or whatever the case may be. And then maybe sometimes they'll work in the same show. Or maybe you have Punk work Rampage. Or maybe you have the Elite work Rampage. And Punk works Dynamite. And then maybe you flip the next week. Or whatever the case may be. 100 ways for you to do it. Where these guys don't even have to make cross wires. But again, the issue is always that it's more than just the principles. Punk has his guys, FTR and Hobbs and Starks and all them. And then Hangman Page and Jungle Boy and all them. That's going to be the issue, is how many tertiary people and secondary characters that are involved. But I definitely would bring CM Punk back. And if you are a second or third string character like a Michael Nakazawa and you giving me shit about it, I'll fire you. That's when you play power moves on guys you don't need because they're pawns. Oh, Michael Nakazawa, he getting on my nerve about this. He's fired. Send him home. Kenny Omega not gonna fire you. Nope. They're gonna let you work with all the luchadors and all that kind of stuff that you want to do. I'll bring in some Japanese guys for you to work with. You don't got to work with Punk. Nope. But you're gonna go to work for sure. I'm not gonna send you home and have to pay you. No, not gonna do that. And certainly not gonna let you go over to WWE. So, what are your options? What are your options? Go wrestle Phoenix. Go wrestle Penta. Go wrestle Vikingo again or whatever. I don't care. I will let people, squirm out of this stuff. You got to give people some room, like all that, applying pressure. I'm going to stand over you, force my way on you. That's not going to work out with everybody. And it's also can end up, look at what happened in WWE. Sometimes you try to force people to do things they don't want to do, and the rubber band breaks. And you do yourself and your audience and the performers a disservice. We sitting here talking about Naomi and Mercedes, and a lot of this is because of Mercedes didn't want to work with Ronda Rousey. You know, a lot of this was because of what she wanted in terms of more time for tag teams. All stuff you could very well have given her without a problem. It was all about power moves. It's about egos and shit. You know, and I'm not saying placate people's egos and play these games with them. What I'm saying is you got to realize what you want. What do you want? Is what you are pushing in terms of creative more important than the relationship you have with the performer, the audience, and the money you could possibly be making with this performer? If the answer to those questions are no, then it's not that important. I don't give a fuck about any one match. Is not as more important than having that wrestler consistently and getting other matches. Okay, I'm sorry. That's just how I view things. Wrestling matches are not that fucking important, especially when you create a situation where there are bigger matches that you could have that you botched for this smaller match. You know, like what was this supposed to be? What was it going to be? Mercedes slash Sasha versus who? It was going to be, I think, one of the women's champions. I know it wanted Ronda Rousey. Was it Bianca Belair or Becky Lynch or something like that? Like, okay, well, she didn't want to do that. She wanted to do a tag team thing. Okay, fine. I'll find a tag team for her to work with. She can even pick one. Pick two people that you want to work with that aren't doing anything. I'll give you a couple of minutes. Because I guarantee you, the match that she wanted to do, especially since it was the middle of the fucking year, it wasn't like it was a WrestleMania main event or something like that she said she wouldn't want to do. And then you missing out on potentially Sasha Banks versus Rhea Ripley, which could have been big, you know? And you looking at something like that and you're like, ooh, is it really worth it though? To argue with her about this shit? No, not really. Because it was a fucking mid-show pay-per-view with no stakes to it. Who cares? You know? You got to think beyond that. Think beyond what you want in the moment. And what Tony Khan might want in the moment is for the Elite to feud with CM Punk and draw him all this money. But if you sold 50,000 seats at Wembley without having CM Punk and FTR versus Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, it's not necessary. Therefore, I wouldn't push for it. Therefore, I wouldn't care. 50,000 people are going to be there. They're not going to be there, by the way. But if 50,000 people are supposed to be there, I'll put the Elite in the first fucking match. If they're the ones who are going to be the problem, put them out there, but put them in the first fucking match. You go out there first, and you go and sit back and watch everybody else. Or I hold you even further. I'll put you on fourth in one of the dead spots. You know, but I wouldn't play the power game with them. That's stupid. Don't do that. That's what a lot of people. That's what a lot of the old heads want to see, though. They want to see you Vince McMahon this thing and go all Iron Fist on them. That shit works sometimes. It worked most of the time, if we're being honest. But there are times where it just don't work. And then when Tony Khan's entire thing is he's not Vince, he can't do that. Not without offending his own audience. So you got to think about that. Whoa. I'm so behind on the comment section. Um, can you imagine a local Detroit wrestling promotion, selling out Pontiac Stadium where WrestleMania 3 took PL? I don't know. I don't know what that means. Yeah, Naomi was going to face Bianca. Okay, that makes sense. Triple H character development. Maybe we'll talk about that in a moment. This sucks. Do I think Evilise should go to MLW or Impact? I think she burned some bridges in Impact. I think she got heat with somebody in Impact. I'm trying to remember who it is. MLW will take anybody. So, um, yeah. If you were again, if you were MLW, you were NWA. Evil East didn't molest a child or anything like that. She's just a bitch. Like they don't have to live together. All they gotta do is work. Like if she can get through a taping without, acting a fool, I'd bring her in. Why not? It's not like she's a child molester. She's a decent enough. She got frustrated in in AEW. She didn't like Thunder Rosa, so she got frustrated. But Thunder Rosa won't be there, so I guess she get frustrated with somebody else. But Evilise had problems when she was in the Performance Center. She had problems in Impact. She had problems in other wrestling promotions. She just got a bad reputation. If you're at MLW, it doesn't matter though, because it's such a lowbrow company that it doesn't really matter. You don't lose anything, you know. So it's not like, and plus, Evilise is not a person that actually be like repellent, like Tessa Blanchard. Like Tessa Blanchard is like repellent, you know. So I wouldn't do that. Yeah, Tony Khan can't fire them. That's stupid, you know. Um, yeah, I think Tessa Blanchard is a believable person who could beat Camille. It's a person where if she was to pop up, I wouldn't say beat her immediately, but let's say she come in and she wins a couple of matches and she chased Camille down at one of these big anniversary shows he like to do, and she won the title. It wouldn't hurt Camille at all, you know, because Tessa Blanchard has a reputation, not just a negative reputation, but in terms of in ring reputation, she was a former she was a world champion, you know. So it would be perfectly fine. I mean, look at the women's division of NWA right now. Who the fuck on that roster? All these girls look like they fresh out of high school, with the exception of Kylie and King. Like so many of those girls in NWA look like they come straight out of high school. Like no way. I wouldn't have Camille lose to any of those women. You know. And who knows? There might be something great in 5 years, but they all look 17, like they hang out at the mall. Ain't no way. Ain't no way I'm about to have my. Oh, you talking about the original Sexy Star? Yeah, she sucks. That's when she broke Rosemary's arm. That was a dumb bitch. Now, that's somebody you don't hire. You don't hire somebody who's gonna like break your guy's arms and shit. That's gonna get you. That's gonna get you sued. I wouldn't do that. Uh, Jackson Riker, Drake Younger, Marty Skrull. Not Marty Skrull, no, because he's a no. He had sex with a minor. Nope. Jackson Riker though, he said some things people don't like. Drake works. He said things people don't like. Um, but I wouldn't go with Marty. He had sex with an underage girl. I can't do that one. Can't forgive that one. It was legal in England, but that's more about England than it is about anything else. But I wouldn't do Marty personally. The underage girl thing is a little bit much for me. Even though it was legal in England, nah, I can't do that one. Can't give you a pass on that one, bro. Nah, I had sex with an underage girl. I guess he figured he would admit it because it's legal, but it's creepy. It's weird. Like, come on, man, don't do that. You think Tessa could work in Japan? I think her heat came from her working in Japan, so I don't know. Um, I honestly don't know if Tessa Blanchard got into a Ricochet at the PC. I don't know. I didn't. I don't remember anything about that. I wouldn't be surprised though. Um, oh, the Pontiac Silverdome, yeah. MLW signed Low Key and made him world champion. That was a long time ago. That wasn't recently. Matter of fact, it was before the pandemic, if I remember correctly. No, actually, it was before Swerve was left. So Swerve left in like 2018, maybe 2019, when he went to NXT. Um, hmm. Because I think low key was a champion after Swerve, and then they put the belt on Jacob Fatu, and he was champion for like two years or something like that. But yeah, it was recent. But I think he popped up here and there for them, but he hasn't been a regular. Matter of fact, low key wrestled there. I think last year. As a matter of fact, maybe 2021. The Sin Cara, he's working in Mexico, I believe. Um, do I think Jinder Mahal or Big? I think Big E will. If Big E decides to wrestle again, I think I think he will be a world champion again. The original Sin Cara is doing just fine. He's still drawing money in CMLL. That shit don't even matter to him. The thing is, Mexico is a completely different. Like Mexico is like Japan, where WWE, whatever happens there doesn't really count. Unless you took your legacy to the next level, they don't really pay that shit no attention because they know it's a completely different thing. So Sin Cara flopping in WWE did not hurt him at all in Mexico. He's still huge in Mexico. Actually, I think his name is Miss Disease now. He has a different name, but still huge. Big draw, no problems. You know, it's yeah, and people. It's hard for people to get that, because you look and be like, oh, like the great Sasuke. The guy flopped in the United States. WWE tried to sign him and was going to push him and everything, and it didn't work. He just went back to Japan and started his own promotion and was doing great, and people didn't pay that shit no attention that he didn't do good in WWE. I'm pretty sure Nakamura, same thing. He can go back and be like he never left. Like he worked Noah and all that kind of stuff. It was great. They don't pay that shit no attention what he's doing over here because they already know it's a completely different ball game. And it's smart of them to feel to understand that because it seems like their fan base seems to understand that more than the American fan base does. The American fan base expects you to, I guess, be the same everywhere you go. It's like, nah. WWE is literally different kind of wrestling than most other wrestling. So people expect, like I expect, move sets to change and styles to change and everything. So whatever you saw a guy do on the independents, I don't expect him to do too much of that in WWE. I don't know why people don't get that that's the case, but uh but Big E, if he wants to wrestle again, I think so. I think they'll put the belt back on him just for sentimental value. Um, who do I think is going to dethrone Jade? That's a good question, man, because the Jade thing is becoming a mess. I think everybody's getting to the point with Jade where I just got a text message, and the text message says that Trinity is going to be up next on Impact. Ah, oh boy. I'm thinking I should play the audio. I should play the audio. I'm gonna find like a bootleg stream or something and play the audio. Um, Big Bill has a job. Ah, yes. See, he has so much heat in WWE though, and he got heat with the wrong people because he had this whole thing with Carmella, and Carmella still works there, and now she's married and about to have a baby with Corey Graves, and he still works there. I just don't think you invite that kind of stuff into your locker room. It just seems silly to me. Like something like that is so personal because involve it involves a lot of alcohol. Now I don't know if it involves domestic violence, but it was enough to get him fired. Um, I don't know if you bring that back. I don't know if you do that. Enzo has burned bridges everywhere he went to. He just got into it with MLW. Like he literally just got into it with them. So if the Bucks and Omega don't want to be told what to do, they certainly don't want to go to WWE because they ain't really gonna have no choice in the matter at that point. And that's somewhere where you can have an iron fist because they already have a bad reputation in terms of being a ruthless businessman. You ain't gonna be able to play no bullshit on Vince and Triple H, man. At least Vince, especially. That shit ain't gonna work, bro. Uh, that shit ain't gonna work at all. But like I say, Tony needs to think about the metaphysical elements that he built he built AEW on, and that's all the spirit of being different in WWE and all that kind of stuff, man. It's you got to think about that. Uh, Sin Cara is a WWE property that wrestler is Mystico. Yeah, he's Miss Disease now. The other Mystico, I mean the other Sin Cara, he's working in Mexico too, if I remember correctly. I think his name is Santa del Oro. Um, Santa del Oro, which is like golden face or something like that. I think that's what it's called. Because Sin Cara is no face. So as a Santa del Oro, I think it's the golden face or something to that effect. Um, yeah, Cass definitely got his stuff together, you know. But I just think that he had such a terrible run in WWE, and then he had a really bad attitude too. I don't think it'll work. Maybe he will, but I doubt it. There was a whole thing with Taryn Terrell when she wanted to come back to WWE, but she used to be married to Drew McIntyre, and they had that whole thing between the two of them, and that kind of is what prevented her from going back. Because she's the one of the reasons Drew got fired the first time. It's like you can't really go back. Like what are you gonna do? I know he's married to somebody else right now, but still, the heat lingers. The heat lingers. But what the fuck she was gonna do anyway? Terrence Terrell is worthless as a wrestler. What are you gonna do? All right, so let's see if this actually works out the way I want it to. Because if this works out the way I want it to, we're gonna do a live review of Trinity's Impact promo. I found a bootleg stream, and somebody lied to me. This is not Trinity. What is this? This is Steve Macklin yelling about something. I don't like Scott D'Amore. He's on TV too much. Bill DeMott's finished. He's done. He's done. Yeah, I do think that the Brock Lesnar and Bobby. I just think that I don't think Brock's heart was in it. I don't think he really wanted to do anything with Bobby Lashley because I think Brock likes working with smaller guys. He gets to do a little bit more. He gets to be a little bit more dominant. He also gets to be a little bit lazier, if we're being honest, in terms of offense and everything. That Lashley really needed that feud to work out more, but for his legacy, it's just real unfortunate it didn't work out as we all wished it would have. But I don't know. I blame Brock. I'm blaming Brock for it. Lashley really, really wanted it. He seemed to be up for it, but the matches just never really clicked. I have to go back and revisit some of the matches because I don't remember them being like terrible stinkers. It was just kind of like they were fine and they could have been better, and Brock was kind of like, whatever. Bill DeMott was the first person in wrestling canceled. I think in the modern era, he's one of the guys that got canceled. One of the first people to get canceled but a lot of the stuff, and a lot of it was stuff that was out of context, like what was it, the stink face stuff, which turned out to be the boys doing that shit to themselves and in order to get out of class and all that kind of stuff. It wasn't that he made them do that kind of stuff. It was different. It was just so weird. I did a video on it. It was so weird. But you could tell that people could take things out of context, especially if they don't like you, or they can push things that are not entirely false, but also not entirely true. Who knows? It's very weird. Brock literally said on Pat McAfee podcast, "I don't give a shit if I fuck up." Yeah, of course he's at the point in his career that why would he care? Why would he care really? It's it's that's the question. Like, why would he care? He's been doing this shit for so long. He can go out there and make mistakes. You know. Yeah. The thing is, the snitches though, like Luchasaurus or whatever, they're not prospering. Not really. Um, it looks like Luchasaurus is prospering, but he's really just kind of like on the outskirts of AEW. Oh my goodness, what the hell is she wearing? Okay, so Trinity is on TV. Um, I'm going to avoid playing the theme song. I'm going to I'm going to avoid playing the theme song, but I will try to get the audio when she starts talking. So I want to hear what she got to say. But she's doing something that's similar to the glow gimmick. You know, it seems like she's got some glow in the dark stuff going on here. The crowd seems to be very happy. I can't hear anything, but 'cause I got the audio turned down. But they seem to be pretty excited to see her. So hey, that's a positive. Small victories. Ah, ah. What happened? I thought I had the audio queued up. Oh well. It didn't like it's gonna work out the way I wanted it to. Oh shit, I forgot. Bobby's legacy is great. A 10-minute promo. I don't know about that one, dog. I don't know about a 10-minute promo, dog. Um, let's see. I'm trying to find a link where they'll allow me to play the audio because I thought I had it set up where I could play the audio, but apparently it was it wasn't. This is the thing about using bootleg sites. I should have just used the TV, but I don't want to, get something. I'm trying to be in an isolated place. I do think. Allow me to reintroduce myself. Okay. I am Trinity, and I've arrived in Impact Wrestling. Not starting off strong. I like the sound of that. Now you better believe there's a reason why I chose Impact. Yeah, what the hell is she wearing? This company has the most storied women's division in wrestling. That wig kicking my ass right now. I don't know what's up with this wig. I mean, from the beginning, the Knockouts division has been a place to be for fierce competition, and I want a piece of it. She breathing hard too. What's up with that? She's very excited. Amazing, talented women in this division, like the Ulster Calm. Trinity has a fat ass and a good attitude. She's so upbeat. I don't know what she's wearing, bro. She looks. Why would you wear pink and silver anywhere ever? I'm not a fashion guy or anything like that. She just looks ridiculous. She's wearing like a sparkling choker too. This wig though is killing my. But I'm here to win more. So knockouts, get ready, girls, because the brightest star in this here galaxy is ready to shine. Is this it? Because is this it? This better not be it. 'Cause we need more than this. Okay. All right. Let's go. For the Knockouts World Championship. Oh, good Lord. Perazzo's music started to play. There's one thing that YouTube don't play with is the music stuff. So I'm gonna cut myself some slack. Apparently she's about to have a promo battle with Deonna Purrazzo. It's not looking good for Trinity though. This promo is not great. It's not great. It's not. I don't know. not the strongest promo. Yeah, she did. She took a year off and came back on Impact. Wow. I don't know. But I'm glad it was Impact and not AEW though, because AEW, man, the last thing they needed was this to stick this thumb in his eye. My name. You invoked. Oh, what was that? My Knockouts World Championship. So I figured I would come down and be the first to welcome you here to Impact Wrestling. Like history. Jacob Fatuous is the place to be. Jacob Fatuous. But if you've done your homework, then you know you're not just walking into any Impact Wrestling. No. You are walking into the new age of the Virtuosa. It's the wig. It's the entirety of the wig that is driving me nuts. What is up with this wig? I hate this wig. How it feels to come out to a new place. It's nerve-wracking. What are they chanting? What is going on here? Look, if you get Lashley and Drew was great. I love that. That was fun. Knockouts World Championship, and truthfully, I hope that you do. Let me make one thing perfectly clear, Trinity. When you step in the ring with the virtuosa Deonna Purrazzo, that's not something you can just walk out on. Oh. Whoa. 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 Yeah. JS is correct. I was about to turn it off because I was tired of that exactly promo right there, but okay. Yeah. Well, allow me to return the favor. I'll have you know that when you step in the ring with me, you're gonna wish you got fired again. Oh God, God damn! Now here come Michael Jordan Grace, bruh. Why are we talking about this mutant walking to the ring? Let's talk about this other mutant. I heard Brittany Griner's voice for the first time ever. Okay, Brittany Griner, bruh. Why does she sound like Biggie? I didn't understand that at all. That took me completely by surprise. I have no comment on what she said. I'm just saying the voice. And now we got Jordan Grace about to bring the mutant voice to Impact. I don't know if I want to hear this though. I'm really questioning whether I continue this. Just the heat between you two. Look, there is not a doubt in my mind that everyone probably wants to see you two wrestle, right? Similar. It was a similar promo. Carried away. Deonna, I don't need to remind you that later this month at Under Siege, we have a rematch. And I don't plan on losing to you for a fourth time. Oh, God. Oh, God. So, Trinity, you beat me 3 times, but can't you beat me 4 times? To fight Deonna, then by all means. Oh. Be my guest. But if you came here for a Knockouts World title shot, then come find me. Because as of Under Siege, that title is mine. Okay, we're going into regular generic promo segment here. It's not about Trinity anymore. This sucks. Um, I I was so taken aback by the voice. Yes, I do think Jordan Grace is on steroids. Yeah, these promos are cringe. She's talking again. Let's see what happens here. Yeah. Let's dance. I don't know. They took this Trinity thing as an opportunity to try to sell a match between Jordan Grace and Deonna Purrazzo. Uh, it's not the best option. Okay, this was an opportunity to really make a statement. Instead, it did the "It feels so good to be in Impact Wrestling." Oh, Impact Wrestling has such a great women's division. And then the women start coming in there and they stepped all over the segment. This should have been just like her, you know. I didn't need Purrazzo out there to be in reality. You know, I didn't need Deonna Purrazzo to show up. Like, what the hell she was doing out there? Well, that's Trinity's first segment. I told you there's something very Canadian about this show, man. It's very polite. Everybody gets a chance. Instead of just trying to make this girl seem like a star, when she got to stand in the ring and soak up the adulation and then, talk some shit. Uh, oh, oh, oh. Well, well. You keep giving Impact opportunities, and they keep just they. How many feet do they have? They keep shooting them off. They keep shooting their feet off. Anyway, uh, AJ3 liked Jordan Grace's voice when she was thick. She sounded like a little girl, like Ivy Now. Yeah, sometimes Ivy Now shouldn't talk. She sounds like she's 12. But Jordan Grace, she did have like a little cute voice, and now she ain't quite like Brittany Griner. I mean, Brittany Griner is all goddamn. She like Shine. She like Shine. Bad boy. Oh hell, god damn. Uh, I think Jordan Grace mentioned that she wanted to wrestle Rhea Ripley. I don't think she wants to go to NXT though. She probably needs it, but I don't know. I think she had an opportunity to go to WWE before, but she didn't. She didn't go. Rocco says, in 20 hindsight, what do you think Sasha and Trinity should have done the night they quit? Still quit or stay in WWE, quit, or maybe do things differently after quitting? It would depend on what occurred in that room. Like sometimes I've quit jobs because of people, by the way people talk to me. Shit, I ain't got no problem with that. Especially if you got 14 years in, I'm gonna let no motherfucker talk to me any kind of way. So I might have quit too. It depends on what happened in that room. But I can tell you what wouldn't happen is I wouldn't have destroyed my brand. I wouldn't have destroyed the value of what I was going to do. I think the walkout in and of itself was enough. And if you I think by leaving, I guess was their point proven even further when they left? I don't know. But I definitely would think about what happened in that scenario. Um, in terms of being stagnant, I could definitely understand why you would feel that way. And if I felt stagnant at a job and felt like I was being disrespected, I'd have left too. And we're gonna hold you up. I probably would have left too. So I can't say they did anything wrong. I'm just thinking that it's weird that she popped up in Impact. It was like the oddest of places to show up. You know, I would have sworn AEW would have picked up one or both of them. You know, but I don't know. Maybe they signed a contract and said they couldn't sign an AEW for like a year or whatever, the remainder of the contract or something. Who knows? But it wouldn't. It doesn't matter because Impact didn't do shit anyway. They they had an opportunity and they decided to try to sell Deonna Purrazzo and Jordan Grace, a match that just happened, instead of really putting over Trinity and what she was there for, and then maybe having her mix it up with somebody else. I don't know. But in terms of them being the only women in Impact, Masha Slamovich and Killer Kelly are there. They're both pretty good too. Masha Slamovich is very underrated. She's very underrated. Um, she doesn't get an opportunity, but she's very underrated. She should probably be the champion right now, if we're being honest. I follow Impact storylines very loosely, but they did a storyline with Masha Slamovich where she was undefeated for like a year, and then she lost to like Jordan Grace, and that was like the death knell for her. So she's been like doing nothing since. It is somewhat similar with Killer Kelly. Um, I don't know. I'm floored by this whole Trinity thing. If we're being honest, it took me by surprise. It's taking me out. All right, let's move into this Triple H character development garbage real quick because I'm pretty sure he's about to say some stupid stuff, and I'm about to get upset. So this is a transcript. Apparently, this conversation was done in the WWE Quarter 1 filing, which I didn't listen to because I wasn't thinking about it. I was busy. I was literally listening to other things that I may discuss later. Trinity could be an Impact success story like Lashley, Drew, Christian, and others. It's entirely possible. It's possible. It's possible. But that was a different Impact. Today's Impact is. Today's Impact is not it. Impact back then at least was trying. Impact now don't even try. It's barely trying. Oh shit! Yeah, Backlash predictions. I knew I should have did something tonight. Why didn't you tell me that earlier? I got God damn. What time is it? Oh, it's almost 2 hours. All right, let's do Backlash predictions. I'll do the Triple H. Oh, in fact, let's do the Triple H thing since I'm already here. Then I'll do Backlash predictions. I'll end up probably going to bed a little bit later. But matter of fact, I'll do Backlash predictions with SmackDown. We'll do that. All right, I gotta remember to do it. Okay, so Triple H says, "quote As far as what we're focusing on character development. I think you can see that across storylines where our fans are super engaged in the talent. Let's take Sami Zayn and the Bloodline over the last couple of years, really, but especially in the last 6 to 8 months, where that story and the character development has reached a whole new level. It has our fans invested and excited in the talent and the content like they haven't been in a long time. For us, extending the planet of the event horizon, looking out year over year, where we want to be next year, and then backtracking from there, so that we're always ahead of the curve and always thinking ahead. That allows us to have better planning. And then it's just trying new things and getting outside of a box of what we do and seeing what works and seeing what doesn't. I don't consider something not working a failure. I consider it learning. Oh, God. Really excited about the future and where it can take all of this. Oh, God. Oh, so he's taking full credit for Sami Zayn, which we know he shouldn't be able to do that. He cannot take full credit for Sami Zayn. That was a Vince McMahon thing. But he was a good manager of that angle. If he really wanted to, let's say, brag, he should talk about Dominic Mysterio. That's the one he should talk about. Because Dominic Mysterio was without a doubt a success story. Now, Dominic being moved to Judgment Day happened under Vince. But the entire structure of the story, the partnership with Rhea Ripley, the storyline with Ray, all of that has been under Triple H. And it's been very well done. And it made Dominic probably the most overheel in the business in terms of just sheer fan reaction. Nobody gets the reaction that Dominic gets. I know, man. I usually my live streams are about 2 hours though, so I'm almost about at the right time. But I don't see a lot of character development in WWE. Not a lot. Uh, that's just personal. Like all the stuff with the bloodline was already going on. The stuff with Sami Zayn, some of that was already going on. Who I mean, outside of Dominic Mysterio, who has he really developed? You know, Seth Rollins has been in a holding pattern for a year, maybe some change, where he just basically laughs and does nothing. Um, uh, who else? Bobby Lashley hasn't done much. Um, well, he's he fucked over Austin Theory by with the whole "I'm no one's kid," you know. I'm looking at this thing though, and I'm not seeing it. I guess Sheamus. I guess was was Sheamus and Gunter. Well, yeah, Sheamus the banger after banger thing. Tag team with Drew McIntyre. Okay, but I'm not seeing a lot of character development. I'm seeing people being hyper focused on a small number of characters, some of whom already had spotlight because Vince put a super spotlight on Roman. So anything that Roman was doing pretty much lit up, you know, the rest of the show, what he was doing. Cody, and Cody's pretty much booking himself. You know, he's doing great. So we're looking at basically just Dominic. You know, like that's it. That's it. You know, Dominic went from being Rey Mysterio's kid to being his own guy under Triple H, and he has been the most developed character that Triple H has brought forth. Ex-con Dom. Most of this stuff has been Triple H trying to take people back to last known good. You know, he created a whole new character for Asuka just to beat her, and now she isn't even on TV anymore. He created a whole new character for the Viking Raiders just to beat them, and they're not on TV anymore either. Damage Control is dead, and Damage Control has been dead from the beginning. I mean, for Christ's sake, it's over. Um, he's just not. Bronson Reed's been on the roster for over 2 months already, and you know they just now starting to do vignettes and stuff for him. I mean, come on. Dexter Loomis, they tried. They had a storyline for him, didn't work out. Johnny Gargano, not working out, and he's injured now, so it doesn't matter. Tommaso Ciampa, not working out, and he's injured. They killed Ezekiel, yeah. They brought back Elias, and it didn't work. They killed off Lacey Evans. Who knows where the fuck she is? They killed off Xia Li. Who knows where she is? Um, they Vince was doing something with Liv Morgan. Triple H killed that. Liv Morgan's now a tag team champion, but I mean, Triple H actively made people hate Ronda Rousey. I mean, wow. Like, people already didn't like Ronda Rousey, but they hate Ronda Rousey now because of the whole Liv Morgan thing. And look, I don't know if you want to blame Ronda Rousey for the Liv Morgan thing. I mean, generally speaking, but Vince was trying with Liv Morgan. You know, um, I'm just looking at the roster, trying to. I'm just trying to think of people because I've watched every episode of Raw, and outside of hey, Chad Gable works 100 matches now. I don't. I'm not seeing a lot of growth potential in him. Yeah, shit row, not good. Well, Riddick Moss, yeah, that's a good one. Just giving him his name back is a positive. But that's like one of those last known goods. You know, like taking Ezekiel back to Elias, you know. That's one of those last known good things, you know, where we're trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube. So we're going to revert people back to their old characters. So we're going to try to revert Baron Corbin back to his original character. It's not going to work. Like they tried that thing with him and JBL, that shit didn't work. Um, so I'm looking at this situation. I'm saying, what character development exactly, sir? I think you're lying to me. It feels like I'm being lied to. Even when it comes to Emma is not a developed character. Nobody knows who she is. LA Knight, it seems to me that Triple H had two bangers. Let's put it like that, two bangers. Bray Wyatt, the return of Bray Wyatt, the White Rabbit thing, that was a banger. That whole idea was a banger. Now, what happened after that, not so much, but that storyline was a banger. And then the second banger was Dominic Mysterio. Like, those were like two banger storylines that didn't happen under Vince, because Vince fired Bray Wyatt, and then Triple H brought him back, and then gave him his own little sect of the show. And then everybody hated what he did in this run more than what they hated when he did the last run. So, I don't know, man. Yeah, Carmella came back moonwalking, back to her old character. Vince made her change her character, and now she came back moonwalking again. Then she got pregnant. So look, it ain't working. Whatever. It's weird. You can't just reset things. You know, like in a storyline where characters are developed, you can't just reset stuff. You know, there has to be a reason why things are going backwards. You know, you can't just go backwards. It don't work that way. It don't work that way. So I'm kind of did he really develop Otis? Like, what did he do? What did Otis do? He's still Chad Gable's number one guy. Um, I I guess they kind of developed maximum male models, but they aren't focused on at all. So it's just become a work rate show, for fuck's sake. I mean, I don't know, man. Um, I don't know. I'm looking. I watched the shows and I haven't seen anything major. They even don't even do any character stuff with Gunter. He just wins matches. Um, Austin Theory barely on the fucking show at this point. I mean, the way they botched that Austin Theory John Cena feud, ugh, he, they should reconsider just based off that. Just based off how badly he botched John Cena and Austin Theory, I would question his. Look, he had a couple of hot WrestleMania main events, but the crowd always loved Otis though. Like Otis always been over. The issue has always been it's not consistent. They just don't consistently push him. But Otis pretty much gets over whenever he gets some kind of focus. And Heavy Machinery, he is able to get over. Then he got over with the Mandy Rose thing. You know, I can't say Money in the Bank because he wasn't Mr. Money in the Bank that long, and they used him to take that briefcase off of him. But then he got over again in terms of Alpha Academy, and now he's just doing something similar where he's being paired with a beautiful girl again. You know, so Otis can get over if he gets the focus. Just they don't want to give him the focus for some reason. Maybe because he's a big old butterball, but he got personality, and that's what people like him. That's the difference between him and Bronson Reed. Otis is a big old butterball with a personality. He's like a giant baby. He looks like a giant baby, like, and it's fucking hilarious. He's a big old rotund baby. My number one guy. Um, so I'm not seeing a lot of character development. I think Triple H is lying to us. I think he's lying to the investors. You know, um, hopefully he don't botch some of the people that they bringing in too much. I'm really concerned about Grayson Waller, and the reason why I'm so concerned is because I'm looking at LA Knight, and you would think they would have made it easy on themselves and just let him talk, you know. But they keep putting him in pointless ass matches, and he don't get to cut promos. I don't understand. Grayson Waller's strong suit is cutting promos, so it seems like if your strong suit is cutting promos in the Triple H era, you're probably not going to get a big chance on that. Well, I guess I guess you could say Triple H kind of started to rehab Finn Balor. So now that I think about it, he did do a little bit of rehab on Finn Balor. Finn Balor needed it. Um, that's about it though. I'm trying to think about it. Like I don't know, man. Uh, but he's pretty much letting people who can already draw with words, and then he just sends Ricochet out there to do a bunch of moves, and then he just sends Chad Gable out there to do a bunch of moves, and then that's literally happening for like 15 minutes. You're like, oh my god, I want to crack my own head open. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. What happened under Vince? Because I'm trying to remember what occurred. Oh, you talking about the rehab of Finn Balor? No, that was him. They put Vince put Finn Balor in Judgment Day. Now I don't want to give Triple H 100% credit for Judgment Day, but I give him credit for how over Dominic got and for the continued push of Finn Balor. Now Finn Balor beating Edge in an I Quit match, I don't think Vince would have let that happen. I don't think Vince would have done that. I think he probably would have had Edge win that match. I really do. Like, I really think that Edge would have won that match if Vince was booking it. And that probably would have been the end of the feud too, if we're being honest. Um, so I'm trying to be fair, but I'm just looking at things and saying I'm not saying what Triple H did such a great job. Especially in terms of character development. Now, in terms of business, yes, Cody has been a huge shot in the arm. But I don't know. No, that's a good question because Kevin Patrick sucks, and everybody knows that he sucks, but nobody's in a rush to get rid of him because they're like, "Who are you going to replace him with?" I'm like, literally anybody. But my response is actually replace him with Vic Joseph because Vic Joseph is actually good at his job. But then who are you going to put on NXT? Because Vic Joseph is really good in NXT too. He fits the mold there. You know, so we're just creating new problems. Um, but Kevin Patrick sucks. I don't know why they chose him. Why did they choose him? I'm just surprised he's. I'm surprised he's still there, bro. um, I don't know. I'm worried about Pretty Deadly too. You know, Vince would have them doing all kind of crazy skits, and it'd be hilarious. Like I think that if you had Pretty Deadly, Los Lotharios, and Maximum Male Models all on like one game, like all on one show, it'd be great. But I'm deeply concerned that Pretty Deadly is going to be out there doing working matches and not really not getting a chance to get over. And then when it comes to a lot of the funnier stuff that they would do, they would have to be the champions in order to do it. And so now you're talking about them beating Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn so they could do all the side plate check and all that kind of stuff that they do. That's really silly. Um, and they probably won't be getting those titles anytime soon because Owens and Zayn need to have a run. But Pretty Deadly is a team they haven't beat yet, so maybe they have personality, so they should be able to get over if they're given the opportunity and not just turn into jobbers. That's the same thing with Grayson Waller. Just don't turn him into a jobber; he'll be okay. You know, Grayson Waller is a problem because he's like in his 30s already. So, but look at what Triple H did to like Santos Escobar. Look what he did to LA Knight. I don't know what's going on there. I'm really surprised that he put together the LWO. They started selling a bunch of T-shirts, and then he beat them every week. That seems crazy to me. Like, oh yeah, you guys are drawing money, so let's beat you more. That's counterintuitive. You're going to lose more matches because you're selling merchandise. What? Even Ray's losing matches. Like, bro, like what the hell? Like, come on, man. But I don't like it. I don't like it. But he's doing good business in terms of attendance, um, in terms of TV ratings. He's doing good business there. So he can bullshit his way through the rest of this stuff about, character development without nobody asking. And of course, they're going to give him credit for like the bloodline and Sammy and all that kind of stuff, because it's going to be like, oh, Vince never saw Sammy as being a top star and all that shit. You're like, okay, okay, but I'm not totally sold on it personally. But all right, if you say so. All right, I think it's time to wrap it up. Do I think Bray can be world champion again? I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think he need the belt anyway. I don't think it's going to happen. If they were smart, he wouldn't be anywhere near it, because then you have to worry about how do you get it off of him. And I think he got a reputation now for being a guy who damages characters. So now they're going to have a question of who the hell they're going to get to work with him, you know? Because a lot of people are going to be. I think Seth Rollins coming out publicly and saying that, it's too hard to work with that character. That did a lot of damage to the character right there. A lot of people are going to be like, Seth Rollins was right. So nobody's ever going to get over working with Bray. And people were already bitching about Lashley. They were like, oh, poor Lashley, he's got to work with Bray Wyatt. Then it was, oh, Lashley, poor Lashley, he doesn't got a match at all. And now I'm like, all right, yeah, Pretty Deadly is very good. They just need the right vehicle. Give them the opportunity to cut promos and do fun vignettes and stuff like that, and they'll be good. It's just going to be whether they get the opportunity or not. They need to do vignettes for everybody who's coming up from NXT. So, all right, it's 10:30. It's time to wrap things up. I appreciate everybody for coming in. Thank you all. Hopefully, everybody hit the like button. And he said he hates Seth Rollins' off-screen character. His off-screen character is just him. That's probably the worst thing about it. And he's been that way. He's a cocky piece of shit. But at least you can worry about he don't exactly seem to be lying to people all the time. I appreciate that. I appreciate the truth, even if it comes from an asshole. All right. Thank you all. I'll talk to you all later. See you guys. Peace out.